Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Miles. Speaking about Christopher Lee, he had a record number of film and TV credits, roles ranging from icons of horror, Lord of the Rings, and the only actor in the trilogy to have personally met Tolkien himself, and Star Wars. He fought in World War II and was part of an elite British intelligence operation whose exploits are to this day still classified, and spent the latter days of the war tracking down war criminals. He witnessed the last public execution by guillotine and met the man who assassinated Rasputin, was a world champion fencer, an opera singer, and was officially knighted in 2009. The dude lived a wild life. He also liked metal and made a metal album, the namesake of which he is an actual descendant of, all at the age of 91. In this album, he plays the ghost of Charlemagne. So, that's what we're going to be checking out today. Some Christopher Lee off of the Charlemagne, The Omens of Death album, came out in 2013. We're going to look at the track Massacre of the Saxons. Let's dive in and see what Christopher is bringing to the table today. The syncopated hits are interesting against the straight eights.
Warmongers fight to take my throne. No respect is ever shown to
beautiful.
Nor man nor beast, and steal our cattle for to feast. No earthly princeling mind shall take, or scandalous idolatry.
Got that contrast between the rising action. Well, it was rising action to the gallop.
They came in their hordes, ransacking villages, taking the spoils, with nothing to lose, and possessions few. Bold, sturdy, fearless, and cruel. Defiant of baptism on pain of death, tough measures call for me to be ruthless. To set an example to the rebels, draconian for their worship of devils. How many times did I venture forth to the extreme wilderness of the north, to subdue those whose hatred was great against churches and priests of our Christian state? River flowing red with the blood of 4,000 men that I did behead. I shed blood of Saxon men.
Ooh, interesting shift there.
I shed the blood of the Saxon men. I shed the blood of the Saxon men. I shed it at burden. I shed the blood of the Saxon men. I shed the blood of 4,000 Saxon men. I shed blood of Saxon men. I shed the blood of the Saxon men.
Really driving that idea home.
Shall my realm be taken as I toil to force others out of Frankish soil? And I return to learn that all is lost, yet my companions I trust, the sword and the cross. Those good industrious Frankish folk who toil our lands with oxen and yoke, whilst Lombard, Bulgar, and Moorish men dare to even glance at them. Converting entire tribes by the
So this is interesting. I've begun to see where the song has loops, but we must have went through 4 distinct sections before we started reusing riffs and drum patterns.
victory for the chosen people. Weary grow I of this task which fell on the shoulders of a man who yearns to spend but 1 hour with wife and child, to gaze on faces innocent and mild. An empire made great by deeds of great kings. I shed blood of Saxon men. I shed the blood of the Saxon men. I shed the blood of the Saxon men. I shed the blood of the Saxon men. I shed it at Vernon. I shed the blood of the Saxon men. I shed the blood of 4,000 Saxon men. I shed blood of Saxon men. I shed the blood of the Saxon men. I shed the blood of the Saxon man.
Whoa! Okay, that was wild. Absolutely wild. I have heard Christopher Lee's metal music in the past, but just off of, I think, a Christmas album. Geez, what was it? I think he sings Little Drummer Boy, a metal rendition of that, and maybe something else. But they always kind of felt a little bit of parody. The metal is serviceable, and the vocals aren't as strong as this. I knew he was a good vocalist, but that just never seemed to be a strong showcasing of his vocal chops. I had known of this Charlemagne album, but never checked it out because his Christmas stuff never really grabbed me. I certainly did a disservice to myself, though, judging too early. This is wild. Now, I still don't think this is something I want to dig more into. It's not something that really speaks to me, but it is something that I think works way better than I expected. My bar, as I just mentioned, I set a little low coming into this. Not to discredit Christopher Lee or... Well, I guess I have to look at... Did he play the guitars and drums? I think he only did the vocals on this. So he probably had a band here. I don't want to discredit the band members either. Like I said, my previous experience with his work didn't really wow me. I'm very surprised by this, though. I mean, let's just start off with the freaking vocals, dude. Christopher Lee has a phenomenal voice. Although, this was at 91? At age 91? Or did he record this earlier than that? I gotta go look at that too. Something tells me, though, that he recorded this earlier than he recorded the Christmas metal album. That would be my guess. I want to look into that, though, as well. Kind of get that clarified. I'll do that when I pause the video to read lyrics. But the vocals here are powerful, whether it is the lower ones that I heard on his Christmas metal album or the little higher up. kind of pushing into that mixed head and chest area, still really strong vibrato, lots of powerful delivery. I mean, if he was a trained opera vocalist, projection, air support, these are things that every operatic vocalist does phenomenally well, like top of their craft. I mean, these people can fill an auditorium without microphones and speakers. They can project. It is ridiculous the volume that an operatic singer can get to. So hearing this delivery here, yeah, it makes perfect sense knowing that he was a trained opera singer. But it sounds so good, so crisp, so clear, great vibrato, great delivery. Again, everything I expect of an opera singer, but for some reason, knowing that it's Christopher Lee kind of elevates it because he's done so much else with his life and he does this. Like, it's mind-boggling. A dude could be so skilled in so many different areas. I find it fascinating. But he also has those two different styles too. The lower one, the higher one. He bounces between them for effect, maybe. I don't know. I got to hit the lyrics, see if there's any purpose to it. But it carries the entire song. It really does. Behind that, we have the guitar work, which I think works well. There's some very memorable riffs in here. I think that this is actually a solid track if you're a riff kind of person, because I don't think that there's any riff in here that absolutely stands out, but every riff is like a 7 out of 10. It's just super consistent with groovy, strong riff writing. And that is honestly something that's going to stand out. I would much rather have that than like 2 solid, memorable riffs and then a bunch of forgettable ones. I'd rather just have something that just every time the guitar does something, it's like locked in, solid. And there is a lot of riffage in here. We have faster ideas. We have slower chugging and galloping stuff going on. It's this push and pull that we get from the guitars. We have the solo at the end of the track that after Christopher hit that nice, crisp, high note at the very end of the track feels very triumphant. The guitar runs with that energy and we get this wonderful extension of that triumph in the guitar solo. I thought that was absolutely beautiful and a great way of passing on not necessarily a melodic idea to another instrument, but passing on an emotion to another instrument. The vocalist sets up the guitar to take the song out to the outro. That was exceptionally well done. And I love the guitar solo too. It's quite distinct from the riffs that we heard throughout the track. And given that we were so close to the end, I honestly didn't expect any instrumental work at all. I really enjoy what the guitar is doing there. Now the bass and the drums, they're a bit functional. But I think that this isn't necessarily about the bass and the drums in particular, and it's about another issue that I have with this track, and really it's my only issue. The production on this is interesting for metal. It is pop style production, heavy emphasis on the vocals to the detriment of everything else. Even talking about the guitars, it is metal. Guitars are metal. You can drown out the bass or even just turn the bass off completely and still be one of the best metal bands in the world. Yeah, taking a jab at you, Metallica. You can kind of diminish the drums a little bit, kind of muffle them out, put them into the background. You can still be a solid metal band. If you hide your guitars though, you're gonna have a tough time attracting a metal audience. Even the vocals can get stuffed into the mix and you can still have a well-known band. The guitars are what make metal metal. And the guitars here are quiet and dulled. I talked about how strong the riffage is, and it is. The writing for the guitars is solid. They're just kind of hard to hear. The vocals command all of the presence, and the little bit that's left is fought over between the drums and the guitar. Both of them end up feeling small, quiet, and muffled. The drums particularly feel muted, as if there is a layer of foam around the drum kit, really not deafening, what is the word? Absorbing so much of the sound and only leaving a dull thud of everything else. It isn't really engaging, but On the other hand, the drums aren't really doing much of interest either. A lot of that is functional drum work, really just keeping the pattern, keeping the beat in the background with a level of intensity that matches what's going on musically, but not really doing anything expressive with the drums. Very metronome style drum work. I still don't think that excuses the heavy de-emphasization of the drums in the mix, but it kind of works. But the guitars are so key to the energy, the vibe, and the atmosphere of this track, and yet they're quiet too. The bass is barely heard at all. All of this is just, it's imbalanced, heavily imbalanced, but it does put a lot of emphasis on the vocals, which does end up working a little bit because the song is so vocal focused. The vocals never quit. We might have a 4-bar transition between like a chorus back to a verse or something like that, a small instrumental break, but it is there seemingly just to create a little bit of space and pacing, because as quickly as it comes in, it's also gone, and then we're back to, you know, another 2 minutes straight of vocals. So yeah, the production on this I think is a little off. But honestly, like I said, that's my only complaints about it. I think with a remaster, this could be a really solid album. It does make me wonder why the vocals are so prominent in the mix, though. But maybe that's just what they wanted to go for, because it does add a lot of clarity to the vocals, too. You can hear everything that's being said. Speaking about things being said, we're going to hit the lyrics in a moment, but the "I shed the blood of Saxon men" over and over and over. That part cracks me up because there's really nice narrative flow throughout this song. It's constantly moving forward with the story. Christopher's just singing about something new every moment. Like I said, it's very lyrically dense, very vocally dense. And then we get to this moment and it's just like, you know what? Let's not focus on, you know, interesting words and vocabulary. Let's not focus on new ideas or progressing this story. Let's just say this phrase, "I shed blood of Saxon men," over and over and over and over. And it's kind of ridiculous. It is a campy moment in a rather straightforward song. And I think that kind of, it adds to the ridiculousness of it, because everything else does seem played rather straight-faced, and then this comes in, it's like, really? That's what you wanted to go for here? And there's even an interesting rhythmic cadence going on there where it feels like Christopher's part drags a little bit. I don't think it does, but his accent points just, they shift from being on the accents of the drums to just a bit behind them. It's supposed to, I think, create syncopation, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like the song drags and it desyncs a little bit, which just elevates the oddity of this moment. So I find that to be rather interesting. But on the whole, vocals blew me away. The guitar work is incredibly solid and consistent, and the solo at the end was a phenomenal way to end this, especially coming off of that high note that Christopher landed on, to really hit a peak of the song. So there's a lot of really great ideas in here. I have questions about the production. Let me look up some additional information and the lyrics, and then we'll wrap this video up. All right, so quite a bit of details on this. Christopher Lee's not the only vocalist on this track. He shows up as Charlemagne's ghost, which is usually the darker, warmer, lower toned vocals that we had on this. The higher pitched ones were Vincent Riccardi singing as young Charlemagne. In fact, there are 8, 9 singers on this album, all voicing different people throughout this the story, because a lot of it, I suppose, is historical. So Christopher Lee only shows up in a couple of places on the song. In the verses, he has his own section that sort of complements the higher pitched vocalist. And then there's also the chorus where he sings "I shed blood of the Saxon men" over and over and over. And I do believe it's him who sings that high note at the end of the track. On the other side of things, There is a guitarist, a bass guitarist, a drummer, and then there are two composers, a lyricist, and an arranger. So it seems that Christopher Lee's only contribution to this is occasionally singing to represent Charlemagne's ghost on the album, which is rather interesting because it is his concept album. And yet he seems to, if this song is any indication, give the spotlight to other vocalists throughout a majority of it, which I think is pretty cool. Now, with all of that out of the way, the lyrics seem to be rather historical. We have two perspectives of Charlemagne during the Saxon Wars, which took place for about 30 years. Where did I had this information pulled up somewhere, and I don't anymore. There it is. Between the years 772 and 804. Charlemagne constantly went to the north to attack the Saxons for their pagan beliefs and rituals. He wanted to convert them to Christianity, and he eventually defeated them and did convert them to Christianity, and frequently found that as he was distracted by other things, other wars, other politics, what have you, that the Saxons would go behind his back and start trying to rebel and stuff like this. And all of this shows itself in the lyrics. He talks about that no man or beast will participate in scandalous idolatry. Says that defiant of baptism on pain of death, tough measures call for me to be ruthless, to set an example to the rebels, draconian for their worship of devils. So he says, y'all don't, worship my God. I'm going to have to be ruthless then. I'm going to have to show you all pain of death. He says that they're going to subdue the hatred against churches and priests of our Christian state. And so the chorus says, I shed the blood of Saxon men. I have to be cruel. I have to show them that this is where the Christian love comes from. Taking a small jab there, I suppose. And this is pretty much what all of it is about. He does say, though, shall my realm be taken as I toil to force others out of Frankish soil, and I return to learn that all is lost, yet my companions I trust the sword and the cross. Talking about how his attention was divided between so many different fronts that he often found that when he came back, that things were not as he left them. But he said that he trusts his sword and the cross, himself and his weapon and his God, to ensure that everything ends up the way that it should be. At one point saying, converting entire tribes by the sword in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. On that day in Verdun, no mercy given, victory for the chosen people. It's just a song about Charlemagne's need to convert everyone around him to Christianity through the punishment of violence. That's what this song's about. It's a good old tale of Christianity. Interesting song. I suppose then at the end he does win. The Saxon War does end in Charlemagne's victory. Historically, I suppose that's why the song ends on such a victorious moment. Both the shouting of I shed the blood of Saxon men, and then that leading into the guitar solo that's very optimistic and powerful and ruling and victorious. So it works as a song, absolutely. The production's still what it is. I enjoyed this though, but what are your thoughts on Christopher Lee's Massacre of the Saxons? Did you enjoy this? Is there anything that stood out to you? Maybe you'd like to add on to something I said or correct me on if I misspoke about something. Please let me know. Put any of that and other thoughts that you might have into the comment section below. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening. whenever you choose to watch my videos.